Hey folks, this is Best in Slot. Welcome back to Planet Zoo, our time-lapse builds for our city zoo, our Amsterdam-themed city zoo. And today we're going to carry on the rainforest house, the jungle house, the forest house, whatever on earth I called it. Last video we had a bunch of sloths, and this video we're going to change it into more like a desert house. Now again, I think this is something that does exist in Artist Zoo. I don't know if it's connected to the sloth exhibit. It was really hard for me to figure out how all this linked together. It could be a different building entirely, but the style inside, the architecture, was essentially identical. So I thought they must be from the same building, or at least they're very, very similar buildings. So the idea is you're going to walk through the forest bit, and then you're going to walk into a desert, and then you're going to end up outside. Or you could even walk into another biome, but I don't really want to do a whole massive building. It'd be nice to move on to something else, because I felt a bit limited during this one. It didn't take too long, because of course, as you can see here, I can kind of just copy the architecture across. Generally speaking, it's meant to feel like one cohesive building, but with different themed areas. But I am very much basing it on the existing one. I'm making that a little bit more blue, which is what it's like in reality. And I don't know what the animals are. All I could see was these little yellow birds in the images that I was looking at of this exhibit. But then there's this big cutout in the wall, this big wide open area that heads outside. So it's either leading into a massive aviary, or maybe there's another animal there. So what I thought we'll do is we're going to have some birds, thanks to mods. And then we're going to also throw in, and it's an African bird, it's a guineafowl from, I'll have to double check. Come back in the second part of the video to find that out. And then we'll throw in like an ungulate of some form, like a small one, like a springbok or something like that. Just a small African ungulate in order to round out the habitat a little bit more, to fill it out a little bit more. And that's about it, pretty simple. And then we're going to do a Nile monitor on the left as well. So you're going to walk through, the pathing on the ground is very much based, again, on the real habitat. And that'll be changed to black later on to match it more closely. What's my throat doing? So yeah, so you walk through, there's an exhibit on the right, there's an exhibit on the left, it all looks deserty, it looks cool. Just bringing across all the architecture as said. I've got to say, I've really enjoyed this copying Artist Zoo kind of thing. I've done my own thing very much as well, like this is, so much of what I'm doing here is my own design. I only had like 2 or 3 small images of artists to work on for this section, so I kind of just pulled what I could and then integrated my own stuff. But I've really enjoyed that kind of challenge, and also when I've got something I very specifically want to build, as I've said in the past, I find it a lot easier rather than having to make stuff up. I know for a long time we made up tons of crazy stuff, and that was a lot of fun, but I also feel quite a lot of pressure when I do that. It gets very, it becomes a lot of hard work, and I really struggle at times. Because if I don't have a big, fun, crazy idea, I feel like I'm kind of failing a little bit. Which is nonsense, don't get me wrong, but it's how I felt. So an idea I really like, now we can't do it yet, and it's probably a while away, but Chester Zoo was my favourite zoo growing up, still my favourite zoo in the whole world, because it was super close by and it's a really well made, really nicely treated zoo, blah 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 blah. And Chester Zoo, as it happens, now that I've moved again, is only about half an hour down the road, if not even less. So I really like the idea of doing what a few other YouTubers have done. I don't believe anyone's done Chester Zoo. I know people have done like London Zoo, etc. Or Bergen, I think, was another one people did. But I really like the idea of building Chester Zoo and actually trying to be one-to-one, like trying to actually be accurate. And all I would do, especially now that I'm finally double bloody jabbed, I can go to Chester Zoo and just record everything and take tons of photos and then build the zoo exactly as it is in real life. And then you would be able to download the file. We'd do it entirely unmodded, of course. You'd be able to, unless there's animals that need mods. But that would be a separate save file. Do it entirely unmodded, and then you'd be able to download and explore a virtual Chester Zoo and see what we see when we go to Chester Zoo. I think that's a really fun idea. I think I'd really enjoy it. But it's a lot of work, obviously, and it's a big project. But that is an idea for the future that I'm throwing around. Because this is like the first time in ages I've just been consistent on Planet Zoo. Like, this is not a mod animal, a DLC animal we're adding here. This is completely unrelated. I just felt like doing it. So yeah, again, this is, I mean, there's not much to say about this, is there? This is all based on the real thing. I could say it's not identical, but there was this metal black gridded fence, sort of, it wasn't really a grid, it's more like lines, but I thought this looked better, fence kind of thing, and that's just going to block the animals away. And you walk through, it's like you're walking through a little desert, and there's all these jutty out bits, and the path is very square and blockish, just like it is in the front room. But that one, of course, had more open feel to it. This one is spookier animals. These lights are rubbish. I am going to get rid of them, I promise. But yeah, I really like the idea of maybe doing that in the future. I know we still need to do the lynx and the ibex? Question mark? What's the other animal? Is it an ibex? I can't remember. The lynx and I think the ibex. I honestly can't remember. I'm struggling a little bit for inspiration on them right now. I might scrap the mountainous bits. That's the bit I'm struggling with. I just don't have anything in mind at all for that, like no grand ideas. We could build like a more regular exhibit right here in this zoo, in this Amsterdam Artist Zoo Recreation thingamajiggy. We could build a lynx exhibit, we could build an ibex exhibit right here, rather than necessarily having to go and use that big train station-y mountainous area. But that would seem like a bit of a shame. I did put a lot of work on that. I actually did a lot of work on that before even this video. I'll show you that in the second part of this video. But I've started working on a train station in the zoo here that links together. The train station does now link in with everything else. The train is now a full circuit. And I even did the tunnel that goes through the mountain. And I covered that in stone and lights. The entire thing now, you can't see any dirt when you go through the mountain. You're going through an entirely stone tunnel. It took bloody ages. I'll show you that at the end. But yeah, just doing a little second section here because I just wanted the building to stick out onto the left, basically. Yeah. Man, I don't know. I don't know. I'm thinking. It's very dangerous. If anyone has any grand ideas, feel free to let me know. I do feel like I need to integrate at least one more crazy thing, you know? And maybe something about the revolution going on, blah, 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 blah. But I just, yeah, I don't know. I love little things. I'll see if anything springs to mind. I need like inspirational images more than anything else. I need a base to work on, essentially. A lot of fence work here. There's a lot of stuff I started not including in the video. I was thinking about this the other day because someone commented, you know, your time lapses are so fast, I can't see what's going on, which is... this is called the house, by the way, because I haven't bothered changing it. It's meant to say desert house, but it's a house for now. My time lapses are quite fast because often it's like, you know, 7, 8, 9 hours of footage, and I have to fit it into a 25-minute time lapse. So what I was thinking is when it's general zoo stuff, like for example, I've been working on the tunnel, I've been working on the train station. It's very, very bare bones, but it took maybe 2 or 3 hours total. Maybe that is not exciting to watch. Really, it's not something I need to talk about actively or too much. Oh, this was really annoying me. I couldn't get the water to go where I wanted. I think it's just because of how close it is to the path. But the water was just super deep by default. As in, the water's super shallow and only in a very deep hole. And it looked... Shut up. It just looked a little bit weird. So I had to like lower the entire ground. Which ended up okay because it gave it this undulating kind of texture, which is what you want from a deserty area. But it was a pain in the ass. What was I saying? Something witty and charming, I bet. Think of something sexy to say. Well, yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know what I was saying. I thought if I just talked about it, it would pop back into my brain, and it's decided against it. It's fine. It's what it is. Anywho, so kind of doing what we did in the other room where we had those rocks at the sides. That was meant to be for birds, but they're not going to be there because that would be really difficult to do, if not impossible. We're doing the same again with faux rocks and desert rocks and just making sort of a deserty backdrop, sort of a shebang. The back area, the open area here is obviously, it's kind of like an outdoor area for, because we've got ungulates, or we will have ungulates, they're not in quite yet, but they will be in the second part of this video. I wanted them to have an area they could sort of free roam about, blah, 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 blah. That area is not going to be fully developed for a while. You know, that's an area that basically when the zoo ends up round there, that's when we'll work on it, basically, because you can't really see it at the moment, and I have other things to do with my life. So... I wasn't happy with this one for a long time. It took a long time to come together. It's the first time in this build that I think it looks better at night, as part of the zoo, because obviously the red light district does as well, but love these plants. What are they called? I can't remember the name. Hawthorn Century, no. Desert Rock, no, that's definitely not it. I can't remember what they're called, but they are beautiful little things. And it's quite hard to make a desert interesting to build, or look interesting, because obviously you can't go too crazy with the foliage. Well, I mean... say that. I've probably gone pretty crazy with the foliage, which means it's like a desert forest, right? Because I didn't want it to go from super dense rainforest to quite a stark desert. I wanted it to feel like a I don't know, it's a bloody zoo at the end of the day. They can throw in as many plants as they want to make it look interesting, right? And they do. Yeah, again, I was looking at the real world habitat. I don't know what the animal would have been other than these little birds, but yeah, so my next problem here was it was too dark. It was just there's shadows everywhere because Planet Zoo's lighting, can I just point this out, makes absolutely no sense. Like, the lighting at midday, at 12, at smack bang in the middle of the day, the lighting is really, really harshly angled. It's never, you know, like if you're in the right place and it's the middle of the day and you look at like a pole on the ground and there's like no shadow, it looks fake. It looks like it's from a video game actually. Like an older one, like a GTA game or something. And that only happens, I think, if you're in the right location at the right time, probably near the equator. I'm not going to pretend I know what I'm talking about here, but it's definitely a phenomenon. And even in the middle of the day in a regular place or anywhere else, you know, there'd be a little bit of shadow. It's never, you know, going to be perfect in every location, but it's not as harsh as it in Planet Zoo. Planet Zoo's midday angles are super harsh no matter where you are. It's kind of annoying. I also need to work on new signs. I decided I don't like the sign at all. I decided I hate the sign, actually, from the bottom of my heart. So I'm going to... the reason I haven't replaced those yet with the correct animals is simply because I'm going to redesign them. Other than that, just sticking foliage in, sticking rocks in. I actually really like how these areas look. I'm quite proud of them. Rock work was on point. Sticking in some donation bins and some fences. And the left-hand side as you go in is going to be a Nile monitor lizard, one of my favourite animals in the game. The right-hand side, however, is, as I say, going to be the ungulate and these little birds, these guineafowl in this case. So I thought we need a double fence system. I think double fence systems always look better inherently, but I thought it would at least slightly justify why the ungulates can't just jump out. They definitely could, don't get me wrong. But it looks more legitimate like this. And it means you can stick a lot of plants in, it's like a little barrier, and it just looks a little bit nicer, basically. Speedy. Just sticking in various plants, whatever came to mind, and now working on the plant work for the ungulate / bird habitat over here as well. I quite like the idea of having like some ungulates stomping around and then these little guineafowl. That's what guineafowl sound like, by the way, going as they bound around. There's my coatings, just to stop birds flying around and bumping. There are no flying birds, obviously. It's something I'm really hoping for in a future update. I think it's going to be either birds or fish. I think we will get one of the two this year on Planet Zoo. I really do. I think they need like their biggest pack, as far as I'm aware, like their best seller, or at least the most hype on YouTube, based on my experience, was the Arctic pack. That's one everyone went crazy for. Not the Arctic pack, the aquatic pack, because that introduced deep diving for the very first time. It seems very normal now, but it was a new thing at the time. Just rearranging my hedges. And it was a big deal. People were very excited about that. It was like a big new feature. And really, other than that, like the animals themselves haven't had a new feature you could stick your hat on. You know, there hasn't been this big new thing. There's just been this. I know what I mean. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe loads of new building things, and there's new features in the game. You know, there's been the education stands and all this kind of stuff, but it's not been an animalistic focused new feature other than deep diving. So I think they need something else. I think they need either aviaries or they need aquariums, preferably both. If we could get both, that would be insane, and I would die happy. A lot of the aquarium animals, and I said I wanted to build an aquarium, it would have to be heavily modded, because you can't do it otherwise. It's just not possible at the moment. Let's do my lighting finally. But a lot of them, because they're not based on, you know, like if you add a fish mod into this game, it'll look great on a screenshot, but they're not based on actual fish models or fish animals or fish AI or anything like that. So it doesn't tend to look perfect. It's a little ropey. The mod makers do the best they can and they do fantastic work, but they are limited inherently. Anywho, yeah, spotlights for this one. Just wanted to light up the middle bits a little bit, so you don't die. I also really liked, the idea was behind these stained glass windows, was that there's like all this different coloured light shining through and it's beautiful and evocative, and it wasn't really working just because of how the light in the game works. The lighting in this game is fantastic, it's stunning, it really is one of the best aspects of the entire game, but it wasn't showing the stained glass in the way I wanted just because of the angles, I think, more than anything else. This was a good thing. This was a really good idea. Yeah, just make it a little flat at the top, stack some plants up there, added a lot of more interesting intrigue. Interesting intrigue. Let's go with it. Added a lot of intrigue to these raised sections. It really did bring that part of the habitat to life, I think. What was I saying? I was saying cool words. Yeah, so what I'm doing is putting spotlights behind the stained glass so the light kind of shines through. It looks pretty cool, actually. I really like how this whole house now looks at night time. We'll do a tour of that, of course, and I'll show you everything else. But we need to buy some animals as well. I don't have the guinea fowl. I don't have anything. And this, you'll see this soon. That's going to be the next step. We're doing a little bit more rock work, a little bit more plant work, just making the habitat look nice. Anytime there's water, especially just focusing on the rock work, using a mix of the faux rock and the natural desert rock, just to get the shapes that I want. Trying not to go too heavy on the foliage, but finding it hard to resist, it must be said. And I decided to pick slightly different foliage for each of the two habitats. This one's got a bit more cacti, whereas the other one doesn't really. This has got the cacti and the blood thorns, whereas the other one doesn't. This is where I started the struggle. So, first of all, shout out to Leaf, because I mentioned in the last video that I needed a invisible guest gate, and now there's a mod for an invisible guest gate, which is fantastic. I haven't installed it yet, but I will before the next part of this video, before the second half. Third, I guess. So we're going to install that. So you won't be able to see that at all, but it'll still function as a guest gate, which is a brilliant idea. Very excited about that. Unrelated to that, though, this whole thing is a disaster, because where on earth do you put the staff members for the sloth? Think about that just for a moment. Where would you put the staff members for the sloth habitat? It was fine in the first video because the staff members were where the second part of the building is, right? They just popped out there and they could put the sloths in. That doesn't work anymore because that second part now obviously is a pathway that leads through. I tried this out, by the way. Someone suggested this, that you can put elephant grass underground and it blocks animal movement. It wasn't working for me at all, but I know you need a specific piece of elephant grass. I was using the 4 meters one and it flat out did not work. But maybe I'm sure I was doing something wrong. Several people have told me that's a really workable idea, and I'm very excited about that idea. I couldn't get it to work personally. Yeah, there was no way to have a staff section directly attached to the sloth habitat. It took a lot of thinking to how I was going to make this work. I ended up redoing the whole barrier 2 or 3 times, I shall say. And basically, the ungulates are their own habitat, and that pops out at the back, where that big open doorway is in the second building. And the sloths and the lizards are an attached habitat. That's all one habitat. So technically, if the sloths wanted to, they could walk through into the second part of the building. Because again, I haven't found a way to block them in yet. But I'm hoping, because their food and everything else is in the first part of the building, they're going to stay there. That's the idea. I'm an optimist, what can I say? I don't mind if the sloths want to walk into the desert a little bit. It might be cute anyway. But it's definitely a little bit of an issue. Anyway, putting in some deco. This is the only animal I was sure of that I wanted, was the Nile monitor, so putting some of those habitat items. And then, getting sexy. There we go, little red lights. Because reptiles like red lights, right? That's a thing. Everyone knows that. It's like a mini red light district. Again, it's always the lizards. Anyways, lighting up those backdrops a little bit. Very subtle lighting, you know, I'm not trying to make it too standoutish because I want the animals to feel like they've got a place they can relax, you know. You don't want it to be too intense with the brightness. I decided to change the flooring to black because that more represents the colour it actually is in reality. In the actual habitat, it is black flooring. I really like how this room looks, by the way. I really, really like how this room looks. I think it looks really cool. Don't know about the planters, though. Might need to change those. And just trying to have a little sort of light there coming through, lighting up, as I say, lighting up through the stained glass. And then I thought, okay, we need to actually light up the rainforest. Again, not too much, because I want the sloths to feel comfortable. Shut up, it makes sense. And I wanted it to have that dark, almost claustrophobic rainforesty atmosphere. That back wall was annoying me. It was too bare. Too bare. Bear down for back wall. And a little exit sign there. Technically, you could enter from either side. I will do a little sign on the other side. You could enter through the desert house if you want it. Oh, do I want you to be able to do that? I'll have to have a little think about that, actually. But that is it. So, Right then, here we go. Now, I've actually made a few changes since the time-lapse video we just watched. I recorded that yesterday, and then I spent a few hours last night just working on a few things. First thing to note is, of course, as I say, the train station has been linked in together. The trains actually go around in a circuit now, at the very least. If we hop down here, an area I'm still pretty unsure what I want to do with, if I'm totally honest. I mean, I can build a little train station, that's fine, but then... but what I did do, I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it'll take bloody ages, but I did build the train tunnel. And this tunnel here goes all the way from there, with stone and with lights, all the way down into here, where obviously it needs a little bit of love, but you see the whole thing is lit up all the way. I just thought that was necessary if this is ever going to look good. Last night I did a little work over here, just putting some trees down, making it look a little bit nicer. This whole area needs a lot of love, obviously. And then your train station rolls around here, and this is actually the main thing I was working on yesterday. It was just, making this area a little bit neater, but this over here I was working on the train station itself. This is a fun little brick building. I was going to do a video on this, but I just kind of want to keep the videos to the animal enclosures, and then that way the time lapses can be a little bit slower and you guys can see what's actually going on. And so stuff like this I'm just kind of going to do on my own time. It depends what the building is. This wasn't the most exciting building in the world, so I thought it would be fine, basically. But yeah, little train station kind of thing. Cause since it's for the zoo, I thought it could be a little bit larger, a little bit bigger in size. I love these opaque glass doors. I've never thought to use them before, but opaque glass and then real glass in front of it. Actually looks really good. I'm going to fill that with some plants. This isn't finished yet, I should stress, but I'm going to fill some plants in there. I'd like to put some benches in, but the path is being super weird, so we'll just dot some decorations and stuff all around there. I've got the markings on the ground for your standing point, and then obviously you're going to exit and enter from this side over here. I'm still just trying to figure out how the path is going to connect with that. And then we'll block off the sides, and that'll be that. We'll have a little train station for the zoo, so you'll be able to see that in the next video. Hopefully, I'm going to carry on working on that today. Now, let's go check out our forest/desert house now, I suppose. I love these signs. So let's head inside. I suppose we've already seen this. This sloth, by the way, April, refuses to unbox, but to be fair to her, it's a fairly tricky situation. Some of the sloths are being pretty chill. Little Alejandro over here is sitting, and has been sitting here for a while, it must be said, at the precipice between the two habitats. This is the desert part, this is the forest part, and he's considering it. The sloths can wander around this whole area, but the theory is because their food and water is here, they'll keep coming back to this part. And this is our desert room. So as I said, the lighting really bugs me. I feel like this should be flooded with light, you know. I don't know if I talked about this yesterday, but I feel like it should have tons of light in here because of all this glass, and it's very dark. But I can't really do much about it. So we've got two little exhibits. I haven't made the signs yet. I did try, but I've decided I hate these signs, so they're going to get replaced with something else, and then I'm going to do some new signs. So we'll have ones for these guys. These are our Nile monitors, chilling here in their little habitat there. Lovely stuff. And this is very much based on the real thing. It's jutting out and it's angular. Oh, hello. Margarita, I didn't realise was such an adventurer. She's gone on a proper little mission. She's checking out the Nile monitors. I quite like that. But yeah, this is very much based on, I don't know if it's directly connected to the forest house in reality, but the deserty looking building in the zoo has this kind of angular nature to it, and this black flooring and metal railing, stuff like that. This side, of course, has a double because we've got some Springbok in here. There's Thema, and we have our lovely modded. These are beautiful little creatures, they really are. These are helmeted guineafowl, and these are made by Narwaller, and I'll link these down below if you want to download them for yourselves. There's a lack of birds in Planet Zoo, so I kind of wanted to bring in a mod one. But yeah, really, really cool. This is Chuma. I'm going to call them Chuma. And yeah, they're really, really cute. They look fantastic. They kind of suit this kind of slight African deserty kind of landscape. I don't know if Springbok and helmeted guineafowl would have lived together, but I don't know how much of this I talked about yesterday, but helmeted guineafowl do have a very wide range, so the chances are pretty good. We even got a little albino one over here. Isn't it adorable? They're super cute. This area, of course, is not done, but since you can't see it, I figure that's not a big deal. When this part of the zoo comes around there, into that part, then we'll work on expanding that part as well. I did a little bit of work on the fences and the lights and stuff in here as well. Let's zoom back in here. And yeah, this was my favourite part, honestly. I don't know why I just really like how that part looks. This idea of having the flat rock there and then having the plant life on top looks really, really good. And I stole it from someone on Twitter who, unfortunately, I can't remember the name of. But it's something we're going to be doing a lot more often because I think it looks fantastic. And I'm pretty happy with how these look. It's just some nice little habitats, really. There's nothing special. There's no real theming here. It's actually a zoo habitat, which is very unlike me. Of course, there is a slight problem. The entrance for the staff to this section is, of course, here. And that's fine for the Nile monitor lizards. They can get in and feed them and look after them. But this exhibit, the Nile monitor lizard exhibit, is also the sloth habitat. Because there's no way for the staff to get into the sloth habitat. There just isn't a way to do it. Unless I had it poking out the front of the building. Because the sides, of course, have these drops. Unless I built a path along there and then cut in. It's too tricky. So that's, I think, causing the problems here. Is that the sloths don't have their own staff member. And the staff member doesn't have an access. What I have to do is cut out a fence here. I was doing it here before, cutting out a fence here. And that lets the staff member walk through here, and then down here. And actually, that's probably what we do have to do. I did try the elephant grass trick, but I just couldn't make it work. But if anyone knows how to do that... Oh, she's on her way back. I do like that the sloths can walk around, though. I think that's really cool. But, yeah, generally speaking, I'm really happy with how this looks. I'm going to show you it at night time. I did a little work at the front as well. So let's check out the outside, first of all. You can see I've lit this up with some candles, loads of lampposts, kind of keeping that theming going. I got rid of all the trees here, they're looking a bit weird, but this can't look like this. Something has to change here. I will block it with foliage, I think, but I'm going to have to do it slightly differently. That's all lit up green. I'll show you the train station very quickly. All very classical, very much based on a real-world train station. I'm not going to do too much more to it. You won't actually ever get guests over that side either. But I'm going to put some plants there, maybe some plants there. Maybe some of it. I'd like to put benches in, but I can't seem to. Just some little things there, and then the exit and entrance will link in with the path over here. That's going to drop down there. Put some plants there, and done. I think that looks really pretty at night, though. Anyways, moving on. So then we head over here. You can see the stained glass there lit up from behind with the orange light. It was exactly what I wanted. I've been using spotlights to do that. We've got this nice red light on the left, orange light on the right. You head in and you see that light up there is beaming onto there and giving us that really nice effect. And yeah, there you go, there it is. So we've got the red lights over here for the Nile monitors. They really like hanging around over here, and in that they haven't moved in about 20 minutes of gameplay so far. And then of course we've got the guineafowl and the spring. I actually don't know what the guineafowl eat, so I kind of use the peafowl as a basis. I'm hoping that works. Oh, they're beautiful! I really like them. I really like this habitat, actually. It's very normal zoo build, but I quite like it. Especially at night. I think it comes alive at night in a fairly different way. Just because in the daytime there is too much shadow, and I can't accommodate for it in my build. The only way to get rid of the shadow over here, like that big area, is literally to get rid of that wall and that roof there. So it's just not going to happen. But at night time, yeah, pretty sweet. That is about it from me then, folks. Thank you very much for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, please do throw me a like, a subscribe, and all that nonsense. Make sure you hit the notification button. Go give Narwhal some love for their fantastic mod. Of course, Leaf as well for their fantastic the mod that's going to make those guest gates invisible. I keep forgetting to install it, but that's absolutely going to be in use because that is a very, very exciting proposition to me. These guineafowl are adorable. And I like this as an idea, mixing the modded and non-modded animals going forward. So the Springbok, of course, regular, but then little guineafowl as well. And it's just something I needed that the game couldn't provide, basically. Yeah. There you go, folks. Desert house. Done. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you lovely folks super soon. I don't have any grand ideas for the next video. The house is going to end. That's going to end up outside, I think. I can't think of anything else I want to do. I do want to do like an aquatic section, but obviously we're building an aquarium over there eventually, so that's going to stop for now. We can either work on the Lynx and Ibex, which I don't really feel any great pressure to do right now because I don't have a great idea for this area yet. We'll see if anything sparks. Or we'll just build another habitat further into the zoo. I'd like to get some maybe height in here, but Amsterdam is also very flat. The Netherlands is very flat, so a flat zoo does kind of work thematically, so we'll see how we feel about that as well. I'm going to keep this very classic kind of styling throughout the whole thing at the very least. Anyways, I will stop wittering on. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you lovely folks very soon. Cheers, much love as always. Bye-bye.